Jud Hendrix, and I want to welcome you to our Lunch with Louisville Evolutionaries. This is my favorite time all week because I get to hang out and have conversation with Louisville's some of the most fascinating people in Louisville that are doing really amazing things. The idea behind Lunch with Louisville Evolutionaries is that we get to hear the stories and a little bit more in depth about the people that are doing really good and amazing work in Louisville, Kentucky. And I'm so excited to have Shameka Parrish Wright with us, who is, with many of you may know, with the Bail Project, but gosh, she's done so many other things. And so Shameka, I'm really excited to be able to have lunch with you. And I'm telling all my evolutionaries, when we can get away from quarantine, I actually will buy you lunch, since it's supposed to be lunch with Louisville Evolutionaries. Shameka, I am so appreciative, as I was saying to you earlier. I don't know where you get all the energy, like at these all these events that are going on. You always seem to show up. You give your time and energy and love to so many people and so many things. You must drink a lot of caffeine or something. I don't know, but thank you for giving us a little time today to get to know you a little bit better, but also to really hear about the important work that you're doing and how we as a community can support that. So Shameka, thanks for being on. And why don't you introduce yourself a little bit more and give us a little bit of a timeline for your life and bring us up to date on what you're doing now. Welcome, Shameka.
Thank you, Jud, and such kind words. And I will take you up on that lunch. I like a good meal. So post-COVID, let's figure that out. It's hard to know where to start, right? I don't wake up thinking of myself as an evolutionary, but I try to make a difference and try to make sure my good outweighs my bad before I go to bed each night. But last night I didn't go to bed. I've been up since yesterday morning, because people were arrested protesting, and some of my friends were arrested, and I wanted to make sure that they got out. Even though there's people here who are in town to help them, it was still important to me that we're going to be here anyway. That is part of the work I do professionally with the Bail Project, is to help make sure people get out pre-trial. But when it's your friends, it's even more important. And even though they're taking part in a national group that is doing a local action, I knew it was important for us to be here to make sure no one slips through the cracks, because that's just what we do every day. And I'm not one of those people who is about taking credit. I think that I'm best at building bridges and doing teamwork and bringing people together who don't normally work together. I think that that's one of those things that I pride myself in doing, is being a bridge builder. That isn't easy, right? And it isn't easy. It hasn't been easy in Louisville, but it's work that I welcome, and I try to be inclusive. I try to make all the work that I do intercultural, interracial, and intergenerational. It doesn't mean that I'm not pro-Black and I don't support Black leadership. I am a Black woman leading work, but I also see the value added when we all come together for unity. And it's not about kumbaya. It's about taking our skills and taking our resources and using them for what's best for the community. That's always been important to me. Even as a young girl, I would go to school and try to buy out the school store to give everybody snacks and things like that. Everything that I did was about connecting to people and helping people to connect to other people. So, I grew up wanting to do that and continue that work. And what better work to do that than community organizing and community outreach? So that's who I am in a nutshell. That is, I'm a mother of 6, a grandmother of 2. I'm 43. I feel like I'm 53 because of my life experiences. But I love to network with people. And my introduction to Interfaith Paths of Peace was through the Swords of Justice Network. I had took a contract with them around gun violence, which I am a victim of gun violence. I've lost loved ones to gun violence, And so it's a very important issue for me. And then after I did this project with them, I was invited to be on the board. And as a part of the board, the work continues. And so I consider myself to be more spiritual than denominational. I consider myself to be a Christian, but I'm not an in the house, in the church Christian. I believe in taking every ministry to the streets and to the people. And I believe all of our lives are a ministry, and it's what we do with them. It's that counts, right? They say within 2 to 3 generations, we're forgotten about. And my legacy isn't about money. It's about leaving, coming from so many adverse childhood experiences and still loving life and loving people and wanting to make a difference. I know that there's more people who feel that way. And I feel like it's my duty to help be a part of that in some way. So that connects me. I see the world in a circle. I see my work in a circle. And then when it comes to what I want to continue to do, I like getting people elected. I like definitely getting women elected. But I also see that my way to fight racism and racist practices is to attack poverty. And so all the positions I've held do that in some way, because I feel like poverty is something that we can attack in our lifetimes, right? I can get out this car right now and go feed someone right now. And that means something to me. As far as racism, we're going to be working on that forever. So I'll definitely join and continue to be in that struggle. But what I'm putting my hands on is dismantling poverty. And pretrial incarceration is another symptom of poverty, right? People are held pretrial simply because they can't afford their bail. And so now I'm excited that there's so much focus on criminal justice reform. I'm excited, but I'm excited about derailing the train that's headed towards mass incarceration. And so that's why the Bail Project appealed to me, because at 18, my daughter is 27, over 25 years ago, I found myself held on an unaffordable cash bail simply because I was defending myself in a domestic relationship. And I wouldn't have never guessed that I would be doing this work now. I just wanted to get out. And are they gonna take this? I just wanted to get out, and I wanted to be able to raise my daughter, fight my case, and go on to college. And I took a plea deal because I was in there 38 days. And by that time, I just didn't care. I wanted to get out and be with my daughter. That decision is what I see so many people making every day. And so when the Bail Project started here in 2018, May of 2018, I just felt blessed to be able to do this work and to be able to bring it home to what matters when it comes to poverty. So I'm on boards. I'm on the Kentucky Alliance Against Racism and Political Repression Board. I'm a co-chair now. I started as an intern. I worked with Ann Braden up until she died. I worked with Dr. Blaine Hudson. I worked with Rhonda Mathis. I worked with so many greats that I really enjoyed that work. Before I did that work, I did work around gentrification and in Cincinnati, where I'm from. So when I came here, I already had a political lens, but it wasn't until I moved here and started doing the work at the Kentucky Alliance that I wanted to do more that impacted racism, racist practices, and poverty. And so with that, after Ann died, and it was a group of us saying, what are we gonna do? We can't just mourn, we have to organize. And so some of us said we would run for office. Some of us said that we would continue to work at the Alliance. And some of us said that we would, venture out and see what's next. And so, that's what I did. I'm one of those people, I like projects and campaigns because one, I like the variety. I like meeting new people. I like connecting people. And there's nothing like a good project or a campaign that helps me fulfill those goals.
And Shameka, it's so nice to interview you while you're driving. That feels
I'm going to pull over. I'm pulling over.
Well, no, it feels so symbolic of you out doing your thing and making it happen while you multitask. That's always the way I experience you.
I always say I make my issues work for me, but I promise I needed to get to another destination.
Well, that's perfect.
Yeah. Anything.
We're just thankful that you can give us some time.
Yes.
Shameka, one of the things that that we talk about some or ask is what have been some of the experiences in your life that you really feel like have shaped who you have become? What when we look back kind of at what are the soul shaping events or experiences that you've had in your life that really have helped create who you are now?
I think a little bit of everything, especially having a father that was incarcerated 40 of his 56 years on this earth, having a mother who raised 3 kids on her own, and watching her grow and watching her try to teach us and to help us have more than what she had, and really being homeschooled, right? She homeschooled us before we started school, and it really helped me a great deal. And then when I got to school, it was about navigating those spaces as a young, poor Black girl, which is not easy, right? And then my mom, just watching my mom and knowing that I wanted to grow up and be able to help her, but also that I didn't want to struggle. I was tired of struggling. And then having children at a young age as a result of being in bad situations and just not understanding why things were happening to me. And at one point thinking I was cursed, thinking like, why did this happen to me? I didn't ask for it. Learning about people and learning that things weren't my fault, but that I had choices to wake up every day and to fight those things and to push forward for something better. So my mother said I have an old soul. I've never met any of my grandparents, but I'm often told that I remind my family of the different women that came before me, which I honor that. I love being a Black woman. I love that I have 4 young women as children, and I have 2 boys as children. I love being a mother. I actually wanted 7 kids, but my heart said 6 is enough. And if you want to be around for those 6, you need to let it go. So I stopped at 6. But I would say, a lot of those adverse childhood experiences is not just about resilience. They also taught me faith. They taught me how to see past the moment and how to dream and create the life that I want to lead. Even if it doesn't make sense to anyone else but me, it was important that I take the good that I learned and I create what I wanted better for myself and for my kids. And so that is one of the driving forces. It's the love of humankind. It's the love of, goodness. Am I here?
Yep, I got you.
It's the love of goodness and it's the love of faith. That's what keeps me going. But also in a way that I want to be a part of change. I want to be a part of change because I remember the people who came in my life and changed my life and what a difference they made. And so I definitely wanted to make sure everything I do connected to doing that more for someone else.
Yeah.
And so,
That's
it.
Share some more about meaningful people in your life, people that have been mentors or people that have been guides for you and who you've become?
Yeah, the people in my life, I've met a lot of people. I went to 17 schools and 4 colleges. I worked at a lot of different jobs, from childcare to restaurant to warehouse to nonprofits to Fortune 500 companies. And I feel like everywhere I went, I was meeting someone who I wasn't sure if I was supposed to teach them something or if they were supposed to learn something from me. And so those people that stood out, there was a woman who was the first Black woman to run a post office in Cincinnati, Ohio. She also sold Mary Kay. It was an interesting combination, but she was so spiritual. And I joined this church, and she was one of the people who was my discipler. Her job was to help me as a newer Christian to navigate and to navigate in the best way possible. And I just watched her, and I learned a great deal. And I learned a great deal about faith through her. Although I've been baptized like 5 times, because it's hard for me when they do the altar call and I go to a new church, or it just, I'm like, well, at least they're trying to save my soul. They're talking to my spirit, and I tell my family, I don't know where I'm going, but I'm going somewhere. I've been baptized in a lake in Alabama. I've been baptized in a jacuzzi tub. I did the foot wash with the Primitive Baptist Church. And that's just me being inquisitive and wanting to learn about different religions and just really wanting to understand people. So anyway, that woman was very influential. Her name was Miss Jackie for my faith. My mom, I told you, was influential for my drive. My drive, being multi-talented, multitasking. And, I know people say that's not always a good thing, and it isn't always a good thing. But the Parrish women, the women that I come from, we all had many talents. We do hair, we work, we sew, we study. It's just something that I watched my mother do, and I picked up on it. So my drive comes from my mother. My love for people comes from my dad, and knowledge, right? He always brought books and introduced me to one of my favorite poets, which is Langston Hughes, introduced me to all these Black authors that I love and adore, introduced me to that literature that made me want to become a writer. So I appreciate my dad. And also, he introduced me to hip hop, which was important because those songs often told stories of the life that I had to live. And so anyway, our love for music, he had me when he was 18. So we share a lot of the same music. And that was just something special. We can share books, music, and poetry. And we often did that from a jail cell. And so I remember going to see him and how special that was. Okay, and then the fathers of my children, right? Those were significant times in my life and people who made a difference. And my children gave me reason to live. Because at different points in my life, because of all the chaos, I just didn't know what my purpose was. And I know for some people, it's like, you can't live through your children. But it's really about me learning to love and learning to live and in a way that life makes sense for me. Because at first I did it like it's my duty to be a mother. And then I grew to just loving having the opportunity to raise children and create atmospheres where they can thrive. And so that's something that I love. I love children. My nieces, my nephews, I was an aunt before I was a mother. So all those things are important. So let me fast forward, because it's 43 years and we don't have a lot of time. So
yeah, and I want to focus on talk some more about the Bail Project, and specifically I want people that are listening to be able to know how they can be supportive of that and what specifically the Bail Project does, and some of the challenges of those who are in pretrial incarceration. What are some of the real ways we as a community can come along and support those that get out on bail? And so let's talk a little bit about that. Tell us some more about the Bail Project and how we can be supportive.
So the Bail Project leads me to one of the other people that I want to mention, which is Judy Jennings, and work we did with the Special Project and now the Louisville Family Justice Advocates, which had me working and introduced me to Shelton McElroy, who suggested I apply for the Bail Project. At first, I didn't want to apply because I was like, I don't want to work for another organization. I'd rather go in and do these projects and campaigns with them and then have some tangible goals, and then I'm on to the next thing. But I was intrigued with the Bail Project's mission about, making sure that we focus on clients being innocent until proven guilty, make sure that we are using the data that we collect out of bailing people out pre-trial to move legislation, to move policy, to move real systemic change. And I thought that, whoa, that's an opportunity, right, to rewrite history, right? Because bail was set up to be an incentive to come back. It was not set up to be so punitive the way it's used right now. It makes people, it holds people in there long enough until they plead or they give up and they just go and take whatever is given to them. It takes the fight away from justice. And with so many baked in injustices in our judicial system, it is dangerous for Black, brown, and poor people to be held pretrial. It is dangerous. It's life altering. It's dangerous. And so for me, I said, well, what difference can I make? Well, I can get more people involved. I can get more people in, to a point where they want to learn and they want to take action. And this is something tangible that people can do something about, whether it's writing the governor, whether it's contacting our local mayor, whether it's working with the jail to make sure that we can get in and have visits and get people out as soon as possible. It just made sense to do it. And so when I started in May of 2018, I watched the TED Talk with our CEO, which is Robin Steinberg, and the way she broke it down, I was like, yes, this is it. This is the kind of work that I want to do in Louisville, Kentucky. This is what's missing in our incarceration state. We had that Vera report. I don't know if you saw it, that said at the rate we were incarcerating people with just over 100 years, everyone would be incarcerated. And I would see that with my special project work, going in the lobby of the jail while families visit and doing art activities with the kids and listening to all their stories. And guess what, Jud? It took me back. It took me back to when it was me. And I knew how important those communications was for me with my dad, but I also knew how good it felt to have my dad home with me when he was able to be home. And I didn't know what else he had going on in his life. All I knew is my dad was home. My mom was home. And there's too many kids in Kentucky that don't have that. Our state is very high, almost, number one when I last checked, with children who have an incarcerated loved one or incarcerated parent. And it was devastating. So I said, well, this is work that I can do that'll come back threefold, right? It'll help reduce incarceration for women. It'll help stop men, especially Black and brown men and poor men, going on to prison. It will help children to have more complete families at home. It will help communities strengthen and have what they need in their community, because when you take entities out of a community, the whole community suffers. The family suffers. The little girl might not have someone to walk her to school. The little boy might not have someone to do homework with him. And so anyway, it just all made sense with my life. And so I said, yes, this is the work I want to do. Plus, it's a 5-year project, and we can see where we are in 5 years. And then I can decide, hey, what's next? Because I also have this thing where I don't want to retire from a nonprofit. I think the longer you stay at nonprofits, it changes you. So the work is so exciting and there's so many new levels that I was like, yeah, this is a perfect position. The next thing was getting more community people involved, which was easy. Once I was able to explain to, especially I started with people of faith first. I told people of faith, this is our duty to end pretrial incarceration. This is what would Jesus do. This is the moment that we can take action. It's something tangible that we can say, I made a difference. So I did presentations to Presbyterian church all over, to all kinds of churches and coalition groups and people of faith. And I said, this is nothing new to people of faith. We've been bailing people out. We've been raising money to do what's right for someone that's entangled in the justice system. And so now we got an opportunity to do this work together with the Bail Project.
That's beautiful. And that's been such important work. And can you tell a story about like one of your success? I mean, I know you've got every day you're bailing people out. Tell us some of a good story about a successful experience that's been part of the Bail Project. I know there's been many. Yeah.
Yes, every time we pay a bill and get someone out, I want it to be understood that is a win, right? That is a win because it puts that person in a better position to be able to fight and live a normal life. That's the way our judicial system was set up to be. And so to be able to give that to someone is a beautiful thing. And so I value that work so much that when I talk to clients who do even more after they're out pre-trial, I have to get your other one for you. I'm in the interview. But you want to use that one? Okay. Okay. Sorry about that.
That's all
So
good.
when I'm able to get those clients out and they go on to get jobs and housing, or they get reunited with their family, that is wins every day that me and my team sees on the ground. But some success stories have been, I've had clients who've been able to get custody of their children. I have clients who've been able to get a union job. I have clients who've been able to fight their case and not get 7 years in prison, who've been able to prove their innocence. I have clients, many of my clients don't go on to prison. I have clients who went on to help other clients and start their own groups of training and personal development, and wanting to take the work further by paying it forward and bringing more people into the work. I have clients who become some of my biggest volunteers, and we have clients that just go on to lead productive lives, who this thing with jail is just a little pit stop in somebody's life, and it shouldn't determine that the rest of their life goes to the trash. It means that they've been fighting and working, and something happened, right? And they end up in jail. But that should never be a death sentence. That should never be a point where they can't go on and redeem themselves and have a better life. And so when I see clients reunite with their kids, I had so many clients at one point, I had over 400 clients, that I was walking past them in the grocery store, and I knew them and I saw them, and I just smiled to myself. I didn't point it out. I didn't say anything. It was just to see this person is now going on with their life. And that it was a beautiful thing to see. And having clients have better outcomes is a success every day that we do this work. Better outcomes prove the data points wrong, because some people look at the data points and like, oh, they're going to recidivate. Oh, they're going to do this and they're going to do that. And when we have those clients that come back to court, that resolve their case, and when I tell them that the money that we use for them can be used up to 3 more times in the way it recycles in our revolving bail fund, you should see their eyes light up, Jud. That is the most motivating piece when we talk to clients. So to me, that goes all the way back to spirituality, humanity, and faith. And so when you can take your work back to that and have it come back again and again, that's a win every day.
And Shameka, I think, one of the, if we want to donate money, which is an important thing to do, where could we do that, and how do we do that?
And so I tell people, I always support any local community bail fund first, because we want to make sure that we honor the work that's on the ground. But we are here, we're a national organization, but you can designate a gift through bailproject.org to be spent on Louisville bails or Kentucky bails. And people have done that even from outside of Kentucky. But all donations made online to bailproject.org go directly to bailing someone out of jail. They don't go to any salaries. They don't go to our communications. They go right to bailing someone out. So if you donate to bailproject.org, and you can put in the memo if it's in honor of Louisville, or if you want it for Kentucky, or you can leave it unrestricted, but it would definitely go to bailing someone out across the nation.
Yeah, I want to encourage everybody to think about doing that. That's so important, so helpful. But also there's some policy things that we can really work for. So tell us about some, if we're going to really focus on policy change, changing some of the judicial system, the way that works from a systems perspective. What can we do? Where can we fight? What are issues that we can really focus on?
Jud, you all can help me work myself out of a job. If we can have real bail reform that doesn't leave more Black, poor, and brown people incarcerated than the normal system that we're already using, then that is amazing, and that puts me out of work. I took this because I want to be put out of work. And so now I'm working with Smart Justice Advocates, the ACLU, LSurge, any group that's willing to work with us we're taking that fight to our state capitol, and we're every year for the last 2 years, we've been sitting down and looking at legislation together that makes sense for Kentucky. And that's what I love about the Bell Project work, is that we get to do this work in context of Kentucky, of Louisville, of where we live. And so we need the legislation that's going to be just as effective in the urban communities as it is in the rural communities. And so what that looks like is going to be a little bit complicated for people, but it's going to mean that more people have their freedom. We've bailed people out with a $275 bail. We bailed someone out that sat for 2 months on a $25 surety bond. That means you, Jud, could have just paid $25 and signed this person out. We should never put anybody, any Kentuckian, in that situation ever again if we can help it. Now, we do understand that that means supports. We don't just bail people out willy-nilly. We make sure that we connect with them. We connect them to other agencies if that is a need. We let them help us identify their needs, because that's very important. Because I can come in and say, hey, I think you need this, this, and that. But it goes much further if we let the client help tell us what they need so that we can help them meet those needs and go on. We do court reminders. We make sure they get back to court. And all of this impacts the data that we collect, right? Because they'll be rated moderate or high risk, meaning that they might reoffend or they might not come back to court. But we've taken chances on the basis of faith, on the basis of their community connections, and we've bailed people out to be with their families against those high risk algorithms. And guess what? The majority of them come back to court, resolve their cases. It's not that people don't want to resolve their cases. It's not that they don't want to be held accountable. They just want to know that they're going to come in our judicial system and they're going to be treated fairly. And there's no better way to do that than to be removing this barrier so that they can come and dress like you and I are today and look like the productive person that they are, instead of in a jumpsuit and chains, where many people in that courtroom view them as guilty as already in their only charge. And so removing those obstacles is going to take a big policy change on the state level. So these conversations are going to stem from the data that we're collecting as we're bailing people out, as we're recording their better outcomes, as we're able to report real data based on clients. We've bailed out almost 2,300 clients since May of 2018, invested almost $7 million into the city of Louisville, the people of Louisville, and around surrounding counties. And we've gotten over $3.5 million of that back. That means what we're doing works, Jud. Yeah. It works. It's undeniable. We got our issues. We work through a lot of things. Excuse me. But for the most part, that means we have a system that works. And guess what? We're also teaching others how to do it. Other bail funds and bail networks are able to look at the work, look at our best practices, and go on to build that structure needed to continue to fight mass incarceration by derailing that train at the pre-trial incarceration rates. You know, we don't need people in jail when they just may have made a mistake one night. We don't need them sitting there for weeks and months, longer than they would be sentenced if they were found guilty. Right. Yeah. We don't need that happening, and that's what's happening. So we're going to change that on the local level. We're going to change that on the state level, and that's why the work is so important.
Yeah, thank you so much. And the overlay of racial discrimination, specifically on this area, is one of the most stark as far as numbers go. I was just doing some research that's coming out, and it says in large urban areas, Black felony defendants are 25% more likely than white defendants to be held in pre-trial. And that's just color. So, I mean, we just know that immediately that is not a fair number. It also says that young Black men are about 50% more likely to be detained pre-trial than white defendants. So just by the color of their skin, they're more likely to be discriminated, especially in this kind of pre-trial. Also, the setting of bonds, we know, and the amount of money is racially discriminatory. And so if there's any place that we really want to focus on racial discrimination, this area is so key, because it's been shown that it's one of the areas that's where racial discrimination is at the highest. And so it feels like that's why it's so important work, especially at this time.
And I think
So
that's why more people want to get involved, because they feel like they can walk into this part of the work and make a difference. And I think it's our jobs as professionals, as organizers, as community people to make this work inviting and engaging and inclusive, right? We need everyone in this fight. We need everyone to understand what's happening. So in the beginning, it was just like, oh, you're just bailing out homeless people. And I've been homeless, and that means something. You don't want to be running around with a warrant and you're homeless. You don't want anybody bothering you. But we're also bailing out the children of professionals like clerks, like judges' children, like lawyers. We are bailing out people because this issue impacts a great deal. And if we do see disproportionate bail setting, we do see disproportionate charges. And if we can help put people on a level playing field by removing that barrier, that is the gift that goes a long way. And that's worth the $25 fee that they keep. That's worth us fighting to keep more money in that bail fund, because that means more people can be helped, and that's undeniable.
Well, Shameka, I have to have a confessional moment. My son, 3 weeks ago, was arrested at an event, and because he was protesting, and he was bailed out by your bail fund. So
Wow.
my son. So I'm a benefactor of the bail fund, my own family. So I'm deeply appreciative, and I do want to make that known that it's all kinds of people that are benefiting from. I didn't even know about it. He got bailed out before we were informed he was in bail, and he said, "Yep, the bail project paid for it." So Shameka, I personally am deeply grateful for the work that you do for that reason.
That makes me smile, because there's a lot of money around bail funds now, and all me and my team care about is getting people out. That's our main goal. We don't want anything to hold people in jail. So if we got to step in, if we got to do what we got to do, we're willing to do that, because we know what it's like. Many of us are directly impacted by incarceration. And you see how well our team worked, because I didn't even know that before getting on this call. And you didn't even have to share that. That's important. That's how important the work is. And that's how much it means to the community, that it's not about us, oh, we're going to show that we pay for all these people. I have to have those numbers, because some people don't understand the levels of the work. But that story that you just gave is why we do the work. I could be walking past somebody that my team helped bail out, and they're going about their life. I'm going about my life. And that's a beautiful thing. And that's what it should be about.
Yeah. Well, so Shameka, how, as we bring to a close, how can we, and there may be there's quite a few folks on Facebook Live. If you're on Facebook Live and you have a question for Shameka, please put it in the comment section, and I'll bring that into the conversation. Just want you to know, Shameka, there's a lot of appreciation on Facebook for you and for the work that you're doing. If you have a comment or a question, please ask it there. Shameka, how can we support you personally? All the people that are doing this work right now, just know that we as a community are behind you and giving you energy. What can we do to support you personally, not just the bail fund, but how can we support those of you that are in the front lines of this work?
The support has been amazing at Injustice Square. Folks that are supporting and giving to that part of the work, that's giving back to me. If you ask my kids, they like the DoorDash that they receive when I'm out at Injustice Square Park. And so that comes from my Cash App, which is just my name, Shameka Parrish Wright, with the $ for Cash App. But I do it because I really care. And what's happening at the park, the community and the passion that we create, that gives me life. It makes me feel so responsible and wanting to be there, because me and my team have worked hard because we want to protect our youth. Our youth, like your son, is included in that. Because our youth get to stand up and do what's right. And we don't want these charges and this situation to stop them from ever stepping out again against injustice. So everything you all have been doing, following the Kentucky Alliance Against Racist and Political Repression, group page. Every day we post the information on there. There's my PayPal's on there as that we use for direct aid. You can also gift there and just say what it's for, but mainly the support of Injustice Square Park as we keep up this fight for Tamika Palmer and our daughter Breonna Taylor is the best thing for me at this point, because we got gutted really bad by the city and LMPD, and so we've been rebuilding that energy and keeping it going. So that's the best way. Every day I post what those needs are, and I also post links on how people can donate, not only to the work, but to ongoing efforts of that work. I know that isn't as personal as you put
Well,
it, but that's my truth.
yeah. Well, thank you, and we will, and continue to support the whole movement, but also specifically people like yourself that are living the change that we want to see. So you, Shameka, I do want to say a blessing to you right now, and I want you to know that there are people all over our city who deeply appreciate the work, not only what you're doing, but how you're doing it and who you are as a person. So feel the love of our community and the blessing, and we will continue to support you and all the movements that you're involved with, and hopes that we can become a city that is just and fair and compassionate to everybody. So I want to thank you for your time. I know you're crazy busy, and but you've been a real blessing on the call today, and know that we're with you and deeply grateful for the work that you want to do. If there's kind of one closing word, what would be the word or the challenge you have for us as a city?
To keep it going. I like that our city is standing up in every way that it.
Oh, I think you went on mute.
Sorry.
There we go.
I got a call. But keep standing up, keep showing up, and like your cup says behind you, begin. Just begin at any point that you can. I love your background, by the way. And thank you, everyone that's been supportive. I see your messages. I see your hearts. I see your smiles. Thank you for doing everything you can.
Thank you, Shameka. Thank you all for that joining in on us, and come back every Wednesday at noon where we talk with really amazing people doing great stuff in the world. So Shameka, have a blessed day, and thank you for all the work you do. Peace.
All the best to you. Peace.
Thank
All
you.
right.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.